Thank you, Matt, for joining us here today at the Planet Elliott interview series. Just to kick things off, could you maybe start by describing your artistic journey and sort of the path you took as an artist and how you've been developing that path and your brand so far?
Whoa, how long do we have?
As long as you need.
Well, right. Well, my name is Matthew Wade. I go by the moniker My Silent Bravery. I've been, I'd say, doing this professionally for 15 years or so. Put out about 7 records. I guess over that time period, I've sort of developed my brand, my mission, if you will, and just I guess put together pieces of the puzzle over time, where it sort of combines obviously my love for music, but also sort of my higher calling in life, which really I feel is to help people overcome challenges within their own life. I had a sports injury in my youth, which was quite the challenge for me, and having to work through that. I found that music was one way that helped me do that, and just sort of helped me to push through. And it's still an ongoing challenge, but working on that and working through that and working through overcoming the challenge made me realize what I want to do with my life is help other people going through challenges. And I really feel that music is one of the best ways to inspire people and help people do that. And just, I love how it brings people together. So yeah, I just sort of, as I figure that out, I've been implementing that and, putting out many records that have inspirational type messages. In addition, my lane is sort of the pop rock acoustic world, but I've branched out at times too, do a little rap, a little reggae, a little this, a little that, because being independent, I haven't really needed to confine myself to a box, so to speak.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
But all in all, that's sort of a I guess overview of the last 15 years.
Amazing. All right. So obviously 2020 has been hectic for everyone. If you could maybe talk a little bit about how you've been impacted by the pandemic, especially in the music sphere, and what were some of the ways you were able to cope with that?
Yeah, I mean, well, I guess first and foremost, we're all affected just by how, life in general has changed, and that we're not socializing with friends as much. We're not going out as much. You're not able to see friends and loved one as much, or even give people hugs, things like that. So, I think that's been a bummer for everybody. But I've always been the type of guy that I try to make the most of any situation. I've been super busy during the pandemic. I haven't stopped. So what I do, so there's obviously no touring right now, but I had a big tour overseas right before the pandemic, so I kind of hit my fill like right at the right time. So I got back from tour, and that's when the pandemic hit. So I wasn't itching to get out like a lot of people were at that time. So, I had some time to recoup. I spent, the first few months writing. Mainly, I wrote a double record with my co-writer. Continue to write and also record music during this time. And also I do a couple live streams weekly. I do a live stream on Facebook where it's mainly me performing songs for about an hour on Sunday mornings. Then I do an hour live stream on Tuesday evenings where I interview generally another musician or someone in the entertainment industry that feels relevant to the brand and that I think, my audience will enjoy learning about. And I do those 2 things weekly. In addition, I also have a VIP fan group that meets weekly. So there's no shortage of of things going on still, but I am looking forward to hopefully, getting out and playing some music live sooner rather than later.
All right. And kind of veering away from that a bit, what advice do you have for young artists or entrepreneurs or anyone who would like to enter the industry?
Got to have a thick skin. It's a challenging business. I think, the main advice I would say is, do it because you're passionate about the music that you love or that you're involved with or that you're creating or working on. That's really a big part of it, because there's going to be all varying components, things, all different kinds of things that are going to come into, the picture in this business, in this industry. It's very, very challenging. And I would suggest also surrounding yourself with good people that believe in you, that you believe in, that you have common goals with, that you have things in common with too, because it's definitely an industry too where it's helpful to have friends.
Would you share with us the first song you ever wrote or performed, and what was the story behind it?
Yeah, actually I got a good story for this one. First song I wrote was a song called Side of the Road. I did this for a high school senior project. Growing up, I was always playing sports. I loved music, but didn't have a lot of time to pursue that just because of my love of sports and playing sports. So we had this project for school, and it was a big epiphany for me, because growing up, I wasn't really interested in all the subjects they were teaching us in school. Like, I didn't really dig English or science or math or any of that stuff really. But I always was, fascinated by music. I didn't really have any skill, and I didn't know how to obtain that, I guess. And so when this project came up, we could choose to learn about anything that we wanted. So having that interest in music, I decided, I love music. I love songwriting. I was always fascinated with the guitar. I decided I was going to learn how to play the guitar and write my first song. So this was, it was somewhat of a bold endeavor. I think we had a few months to do it. And so either way, I went out, I learned, some chords and wrote my first song, and it was called Side of the Road, as mentioned. And coincidentally, or not coincidentally, several years later, that song in particular was heard by a music supervisor and featured in a popular TV show called One Tree Hill. And it sort of was the trajectory of my career, taking off. And, it was a really good lesson and I guess reminder to me too. And that I don't think there was any coincidence that was the song that was chosen, because it was like a real big leap of faith at the time to do that and to write that song and whatnot. And I feel like that the universe was sort of showing me that, your energy is rewarded. It might take a long time. I think that's part. Sometimes we lose that in terms of, we do actions and do work and we expect immediate results. But I think most people in this business, realize that it sometimes can take many years for hard work to come to fruition. So, that was the first one. And, like I said, maybe half a dozen years later that the placement came about, and it was just a really cool thing, and kind of put me on my path, and, sort of, again, reinforce that perhaps there are no coincidences.
All right. If you could collaborate with any one artist, living or dead, who would it be?
Oh man, there's so many.
I'll give you a top three.
Top three. Okay, my first is Bob Marley. Huge Bob Marley fan. I love the message in his music, and how just one of peace and unity and bringing people together. And I like how he sort of mixed, pop music, reggae pop music, with sort of these philosophical, deep meaning songs. I really enjoy that. The next one might surprise you a little bit. I'd love to work with Eminem. I think he's just a brilliant songwriter, and the way that he approaches his songs with his lyrics and syllables and rhythms, and he's just so stupid talented that I think he's amazing songwriter. So that would be number 2. And number 3, probably I would have to go with Dave Matthews. Big Dave Matthews fan. I've seen probably 100 concerts of his, and just love his songwriting and his vibe. And got a great band, one of the best bands in the world. And just would love to pick his brain on songwriting and how he goes about it. And he has some pretty great rhythms as well. I think maybe coming from South Africa, he had some unconventional rhythms to some of his stuff, and but really, particularly maybe more like 20 years ago, just took the U.S. by storm, and still live. I think one of the highest grossing bands live yearly, but obviously not the last year or so with the pandemic, but just in general, big fan of Dave too. So those would probably be my top 3.
Wow. All eclectic and iconic in their respective genres.
Yeah, true that.
How would you describe your projects and music to someone who has never heard of you?
Okay, well, I guess I describe it as inspirational, alternative, acoustic pop rock is sort of the genre that I've labeled it, or my niche, if you will.
And lastly, what are some of your goals outside of music that you'd like to accomplish in your lifetime?
Well, to me, a lot of them are intertwined, and just, one of the reasons I do music, as I mentioned earlier, is just to inspire people, really, to make the world a better place. I'm involved with different charitable organizations. I'm on a few different boards as well, and I just, I like contributing, giving back, and I'd like to try to instill that message of giving back to more people, and I think, sort of reinforcing that, the idea of when you give, you actually get. I think a lot of people can sometimes forget that, and I think just, reminders are good, and I think particularly a lot of the pop music out there today doesn't necessarily reinforce that idea so well. And so I think the more that we can bring attention to it, I think it's been brought to people's attention more so the last year, with the pandemic. I think that you've seen a lot more inspirational type songs, and people, have had to slow down and really pay attention to the world. And perhaps that's one of the reasons that, we're all experiencing this. But, that's definitely a part of my mission, is to spread that message of giving and giving back. And it's okay, to receive. But obviously, I think when we're all, looking out for one another as opposed to just ourselves all the time, I think that there's an energy to it. There's magic to that. And I see it a lot now through music. I'm doing like a lot of different collaborations and networking, and I find the more that, I do this weekly live stream, and I interview somebody else, because I think nowadays in the music business, particularly with social media, we're all so focused, or we're, to post about ourselves. And I'm doing this, I'm doing that. I got this song, I got this that, when you put the light on other people, to me, I found that brings a lot of energy, into my life, and it's become, the way that I'm trying to move forward, and that, like, to make sure that different aspects of my project have these sharing components, these giving components, collaborations with charities, other artists, organizations that are like-minded. So I think that's the, sort of the present and future goal, to keep just making sure that, while I fulfill sort of my own rock and roll dreams, that I also, make a difference, and make sure to look out for my fellow artists, for the world in general, and to, you know, without sounding cliche, make it a better place for our kids.
That's the moment when you attack, and we will rise up against the dying of the light. Love will fuel the fire and ignite us. We got the moment